So why we use the interview is as soon as you apply a skip, the technique, whatever, we're just erasing the symptom. We're not actually teaching the client anything about their soul. You might as well just teach them how to breathe and some coping techniques. That will not put you in touch with the field. Number two, hypnotic suggestions, patterns, confusion tactics. Very hard to remember all that. If I'm working on all that stuff and trying to manipulate it all, and the field is right here, and I forget about that, that makes no sense. Why would I abandon the field for my education? Why don't I just abandon my education for the field? Do you know how hard that is for me to say? I have a $500,000 education. It's like very expensive lesson to learn. The field has more information in it than my education does. And I don't mean just mine, I mean any therapeutic education. I don't even have a therapeutic education. But the books you read don't have the field in them. The techniques you learn don't have the field in them. Number three, homework, audios, all the homework shit that we send people, very tiring, very repetitive, not an invitation to the field, lacks the magic. Back to Sierra's question, she wants to capture the magic. Well, then don't do stuff that takes you away from the magic. Only do stuff that gives you the magic. Anything that's predictable, like a journal, that's going to take you away from the field. Then the client trusts you less. Then you have less magic going on. That doesn't make sense. Multiple sessions, multiple hours, packages, programs, too long, too drawn out, not magical in terms of what Deepak Chopra just said. Negative hypnosis is not a logical direction to go. Oh, it'll take us 6, 8, 10 sessions. That's not inspiring. That doesn't hypnotize me into thinking I'm healing. Rapport, pre-talk, suggestibility tests, deepeners, all too much work, all too much in opposition to the natural effect of the subconscious mind. Same thing about telling what hypnosis is and isn't. Like, okay, I do that. I do it on my discovery call some, but at the end of the day, again, any of that kind of instructional, didactic, pedagogical approach is not where the field is. That's the frontal lobe. That's the consciousness. So none of that is my goal. So when I'm asking questions, I'm not thinking about, is it the right question? I'm not thinking about, is this the most useful question? I'm just thinking to ask a question that naturally follows from what's happening so that the client is in the flow of their own self-discovery process. If I ask something that doesn't help, it doesn't matter because all roads will lead me there anyway, because there's only one place to go, which is the solution. So try your best to, or don't try, do this. Reduce the number of words, reduce the strategy, reduce the calculation, and just ask the question. I have in bold at the bottom, also be willing to ask what no one is willing to ask. I did put Sierra on the spot quite a bit in her session about like, well, so are you benefiting from laying in bed? I mean, that's not something that people naturally ask each other. Like if you're hanging out with your friends, they're probably not going to be like, so is your laziness paying off for you, right? But at the bottom of it, that's what she's saying. I might as well just ask her to think about it. I wasn't mean about it, but I was kind of like, well, how's that working out for you? That's like asking a question no one, that's very Ericksonian. Like, well, let's just get down to it. So at the end of the day, this is what you said, this is what you said. So now what? Remember that all problems are inaccessible to the subject, just like Mount Everest. I cannot just assign someone, hey, go do the hike without me. It won't work. They need me to be the Sherpa. They need me to walk them there. The problem is inaccessible to them. That's why they need help. So if the client's problem is inaccessible to them, when they talk about it, they are not telling me the direction to the peak. They are just telling me a guess about what they think should happen or what they think is going to be the hike, so to speak. These are guesses. These are conjectures. This doesn't help anybody. I've said this in all of my past trainings. I'll say it again. Children do this very readily. They love to explain things away. oh, he pushed me and then she tripped me and then now, he scratched his knee because he didn't listen and this person pushed him. Like they have a rationale for everything, even if they didn't see it, even if they don't know what's going on. And when kids do it, we automatically know that's not really what happened. Like we instantly have that feeling of like, oh, okay, sure, uh-huh. But when grown-ups do it, we just kind of believe them. Like we write it off. Like, okay, that sounds logical. Why are we doing that? Why? Because we're grown-ups? We're just doing the exact same thing the kid has done. Oh yeah, and this happened, and that's why I feel this way. Okay, maybe, maybe not. So the client doesn't really know. That's why they paid you. That's why they asked for help. If they really knew, they would have a different outcome. So the fact that they're there is information about what is really going on. When you ask them what's the problem, they are not going to be able to answer that immediately. They're going to vent, they're going to give you emotions, they're going to give you feelings, they're going to give you non-associated information. Complaining is very popular. I'm not saying you don't have to listen to that stuff. Sometimes you do. Sometimes I let people vent for a while. Sometimes I listen to people's complaints for a while because it's like off-gassing, right? Like I can't get through to the next step if I don't clear that first. But I don't let that take over and I don't let that dominate. If it's going in that direction, that's not the hypnotic direction. I'm going to eventually interrupt. Oops. So what's happening is clients are giving us their best guess, which they have no idea what it really is. I'll answer you in a minute, Gabby. And we are taking the symptomatic information and then attaching our strategic guess to that. That doesn't do anything. So I have my little don't try to fix this car. Don't try to fix anything. Stop trying to help people. Yep, Gabby?
You're hypnosing us so hardcore right now. I feel like I don't remember the past 10 minutes. You're
Good.
making us go directly in our brains, right? I'm not just like,
Yes, it is hypnotic. Yes,
I
that's
was like,
right.
am I just being in class and no, okay, you're like,
At the end of 3 days, people tend to tell me like, "Ooh, I don't even know my name." So yes, that's
hypnosis is working when I had to pull out the whole chocolate bar from the fridge.
exactly. That's right.
Okay.
I'm very anti-sugar and anti-chocolate, but while I'm teaching this, I indulge because I feel the same way. Like my brain waves just need more. That's
So then
fine.
what you learn to now be like, I don't fucking know.
It's all good. Yes,
Okay.
you're right. It is kind of like that.
So it's like working. Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Totally normal. It'll be more like that too when you see the next demo too, because that will see being you have to understand, Gabby, because I think everyone who has been doing hypnosis a while knows this, but maybe you don't. The hypnotist is hypnotized. The hypnotist is the hypnosis. I'm always in hypnosis. That's why when you're around me, you feel it. That's why when people come to the discovery call, they're like, "Oh, it's working already." And they're like, "What did you do?" And I didn't really do anything, but I'm in it. I'm an incarnation of it. Like I'm an expression of a hypnotic attitude. And so anything that you do, around a hypnotic point of view will make you feel hypnotized. So I am hypnotized when you're hypnotized. You're hypnotizing me. Actually, that's how the session really works. Is you sit down and start your hypnosis, I get hypnotized into your story, and then I am able to help you by reflecting to you what you're reflecting to me. So it's a capsule experience where we're both in hypnosis. And anyone who's been doing this as a job for a while, I mean, isn't it true that it feels great? Isn't it true that like the sessions feel very good, right? Isn't it enjoyable? Like even when I have a heavy day, like a lot of work, I know that I'm going to feel good at the end of it because I myself get to be hypnotized. I used to be able to do 3 a day, by the way. I can only do two now max. So I'm like 7, 8 a week max. So that's because it's a lot of hypnosis. You can only spend so many hours of your week like deep in hypnosis before it gets tiring. If you are feeling pressure, you are not feeling like this. This is really more of what I'm going for. You should feel relaxed. You should not feel like, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? You should not feel like, oh, I don't know what to do next. If you do feel that, you're interrupting the client. I don't care about how you feel, to be quite honest with you. I'm really about client results. And so all I'm saying is if you feel pressure on yourself, your client is not getting your best service. So forget about how you feel about it. Think about how they feel about it or how you should feel about how they feel. So the pressure on yourself, the critique of yourself is bad for you. But what's worse is it's bad for them because they can feel it and it's interrupting them. And that's all subconscious. So it's not like they're going to be like, oh, are you feeling stressed out? No. But they're going to feel that there's an expectation. That in itself triggers psychotic insight, which is a bad outcome. So, therefore, trash your ideas about therapy, trash your ideas about what you're supposed to do, giving advice, coming up with a suggestion, anything involved in the hierarchy of life, like I should know something that you don't know, because that will not help. So, put it in the trash. Maybe this is the recycling. I don't care. Put it in the recycling. Did you?
Might not have an answer for this, but the only thing that's coming up for me as I'm watching these slides is how long is it going to take to get like, is it a counterweight thing? I got 30 years thinking one way. And I know that there's solutions in this because we've talked about that together, that clients have had breakthroughs. And I kind of went, I know I was just present and nothing happened, but the default setting is so strong. Is it just having more experience in doing it this way that will create the counterweight?
Yep. Once
Um,
you prove to yourself that it works, then you're not going to want to go back to working harder. But right now you don't have enough proof. So your conscious and subconscious minds are working 100 miles an hour right now to say the same thing as when you're quitting smoking. But I love my cigarettes, but they're so fun. But my strategy, I've been using it for so long, it has to be right. All that can overcome that is first the courage to try something else. Oh, I'm gonna have a day or two of, or a week or a month of wishing I had my cigarettes. That's the, okay, I have to get through that. And then, oh my gosh, being a non-smoker is so much actually more pleasant and I have more energy and I feel better. But you haven't gotten to that critical stage yet of your subconscious being like, oh yeah, it is so much easier to do so much less. So I
thank
definitely
you.
think the challenge is there for you, which is like you're gonna have to at some point do volume, like a few weeks or months worth of hypnosis sessions, or as we have discussed in the incubator, maybe 3 days a week. All you do is that. And once you get to like 20 and 30 success stories, your subconscious mind will start to be like, why am I working so hard?
Okay, thank you.
So I think just practice. I mean, and maybe have a session or two, like take up the people in the group on having a session to really talk yourself into that. But what you're saying right now is neither here nor there. Like, there's a great advantage also to all the experience you've had and everything that you know. It makes you a better reader of people. So I wouldn't judge it and I wouldn't feel dejected by it. It's just what it is. It doesn't mean much. I mean, I was a real estate agent before that, like before hypnosis. I could have said, well, how am I going to possibly transition? That's so impossible. Like, but I do think it's an advantage to come from not knowing in terms of this modality. Every time you hear yourself in your head asking, what should I say next? What should I do next? What do you want to do with that? When you
Are you
feel that
asking,
pressure on yourself, huh?
are you asking the question?
Yeah, I'm asking you. When you
Say the
have that
question again.
interrupting thought, when you have that interrupting thought, which is like, well, I should do something or I need to say the right thing, then what?
Yeah, I catch myself often because I know as soon as I'm in my head, I'm not listening anymore.
Exactly. Then what do you
So
do?
I interrupt it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and then what?
I
What?
just go back to listening. I just go back to listening.
Exactly. That's it. That's perfect. You can even come up with a suggestion for yourself, and say it to yourself all the time. This would be easier for me if I listened instead of did something. Make that into something shorter or quicker or whatever. Hypnotize yourself into it. By the way, what we're doing here I'm sure you guys have heard me say this before, but by the way, this is not as cutting edge as we say it is. Like, okay, we're talking about conversational hypnosis, this advanced form, like, oh, it's the cat's meow, it's, brand new, it's a technology no one has used before. And that's true in the way that it's being presented. But I'm a student of classical Greece, my PhD is in philosophy. Well, guess what Plato was doing with the Socratic dialogue? There's 40 of them, 39 dialogues. What are each and every one of them representing? Has anyone ever read a Platonic dialogue? It's Socrates being like, so what is virtue? And then the person says, virtue is when you bury your dead. And he says, is that all virtue is? And then the person says, no, virtue is also when you cook for your neighbor. And then he says, okay. And it just goes on and on like that. But what's happening? It's ACH. The subject, the person being asked, is like, oh, that's not what it is. Let me think again. Oh, that's not what it is. Let me think again. And what happens at the end of every single dialogue? What happens is the stingray effect, which is the interlocutor, the person being asked, says, I don't even know what we're talking about. I feel frozen and numb, and walks away. Well, wasn't Socrates using hypnosis there? Isn't that the hypnotic method? To be like, let me freeze you into thinking, that you don't know anything anymore. And now you have to do self-discovery, which in the modern sense is like a popular thing, but in the ancient world was a new idea about let me like inquire into myself. So it's very natural, it's very historical. We're not doing something that's like so, surprising. It's just been now put into a format that we can use in a clinical environment. So the pattern is simple. It's the Socratic pattern. Look at the question, look at the interlocutor, ask them a question, see if the response is conscious or unconscious. Based on that, isolate the problem following the subconscious, find the problem in each subconscious answer, untie it, and repeat the whole thing again. Children do the exact same thing. That's all they do with each other. My kids are watching Love on the Spectrum right now, which is so cute. I just think it's so interesting to watch them watch it. But they're so interested in the couple that has the animal obsession, the woman says to the man, so what's your favorite animal? And he's like, these ones are. And then she says, do you also like toucans? And then he replies back. Like, kids love that kind of thing where all they're doing is asking a question and hearing the answer. And then it's so cute. Like, it goes back and forth like a tennis match. Kids do that with you too, right? Most of you are parents here too. You know that same feeling of like, oh, and they ask me another thing. Oh, and they ask me another thing. They don't want the answer. They want the interaction. They want the connection. They want the visit with pure consciousness because it feels good, because that's the feeling of connection, both with you, the hypnotist, and with the field or the whatever higher intelligence. That's all we're doing. It's creating that Socratic dialogue, the stingray effect. It's created through all these things we've spoken about so far. These are the conventional ways of talking about it, creating confusion, creating deepening, creating overload. So why we use the interview is as soon as you apply, instead of doing all those technique, whatever, all I'm saying is just forget all